Whispering Pages presents The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Chapter 6 Opening Doors. It rained the next day, and the moor almost disappeared into the grey mist. Mary would not be able to go outside. "What does your family do when it rains?" she asked Martha. "Mostly we try to keep from getting under each other's feet," Martha chuckled. "The older children play in the cowshed, but Dickon goes out like it was a sunny day. Once he found a half-drowned fox cub and brought it home. Another time he found a young crow and named it Soot because it was so black. Now it goes with him everywhere." "If I had a fox or a crow, I could play with it," Mary said. "Can you read? You could read a book or work on your spelling," Martha suggested. "I can, but all my books were left in India," Mary said. Martha had an idea. "There are thousands of books in the library. Mrs. Medlock might let you in." But Mary had another idea. When Martha left, Mary stood at her window and thought of a plan. She didn't care much for the library, but it reminded her of the 100 rooms with closed doors. Were they all locked? What was inside them? If there really were 100, she could count them. At least it would be something to do. She quietly left her room and entered a long hallway that branched off into other ones. There were doors everywhere and pictures on the walls. She wandered into a long gallery. Its walls were covered with paintings of men and women in grand costumes of satin and velvet. Mary continued to explore. One room down the hall seemed to be a ladies' sitting room with embroidered velvet covering the walls. A little cabinet displayed dozens of little elephants made of ivory. Mary had lived in India, so she knew all about elephants. She played with the ivory elephants until she grew tired and decided to return to her room, but she had lost her way. She came to a tapestry hanging at the end of a short hallway. As she tried to decide which way to go, a cry broke through the stillness. It wasn't like the crying she had heard the night before. This time it was a short, childish whine. Her heart began beating fast. "It is crying," she said to herself, "and it's nearer than last night." She brushed against the tapestry by mistake. To her surprise, she opened a hidden door. Mary could see down another hall, and at the end of it, Mrs. Medlock coming to her, carrying a bunch of keys. She looked very cross. "What are you doing here?" Mrs. Medlock demanded. She took Mary's arm and pulled her away. "I took a wrong turn," Mary began, "and then I heard someone crying." "You didn't hear anything of the sort," Mrs. Medlock snapped. "Go to your room now, or I'll box your ears." Mrs. Medlock pulled Mary down the twisting hallways back to her room. "Stay where you are told, or you will be locked in," the housekeeper warned sharply. Then she left, slamming the door. Mary sat by the fireplace. She was furious, but she didn't cry. She thought about what she had discovered that morning: the maze of rooms, the ivory elephants, and the crying. Some day she would discover who it was. Chapter 7 A New Discovery. 2 days later, the weather cleared. For the first time, Mary could see the moor in full sunlight. The sky was unlike any she had ever seen. It was a sparkling deep blue. Small white clouds dotted the sky. The moor looked softly blue, not the dreary purple-grey that Mary was used to. Martha explained, "The colors are beautiful this time of year. The storms go away for a while because spring is on the way." "I thought it was always rainy and dark in England," Mary said. "Not at all," Martha laughed. "Yorkshire can be the sunniest place in the world. Just wait till the wildflowers bloom. Hundreds of butterflies flutter in the air. The bees hum and the skylarks sing. You will want to be on the moor all day, just like Dickon. I wonder what Dickon would think of you." Martha said, smiling. "He wouldn't like me," Mary replied in her cold tone. "Nobody does." "But do you like yourself?" Martha inquired kindly, as her own mother had asked her when she was in a bad mood. Mary didn't answer for several moments. Then she said, "Not really, not at all, but I never thought about it before." After Martha left, Mary felt lonelier than ever. Mary hurried to the garden and ran around the old fountain 10 times. She counted each lap and felt better when she had finished. She looked up again at the blue sky and tried to imagine lying on a fluffy white cloud and just floating. Then she went into one of the kitchen gardens where Ben Weatherstaff and 2 other gardeners were working. Old Ben said to Mary, "Springtime's coming. Can you smell the good rich earth?" Mary sniffled. She thought she could smell something fresh and damp. She thought that the good weather had made Ben warmer too. Mary was watching Ben dig when she heard a soft rustling. The robin alighted on the ground. He was very lively and hopped all around her feet. "He's never known a little girl before," Ben said. "He wants to find out all about you." "Are things growing where he lives, in the garden with the old rose trees?" Mary asked. "Ask the robin," Ben said. "He's the only one who's been inside it for 10 years. A little later, Mary wandered off. She was thinking of how she liked the garden and how she had begun to like the robin and Dickon and Martha's mother and Martha. She wasn't used to liking people. She found the path outside the ivy-covered wall. The robin flew around there too. He hopped about the bare flower beds, pecked at the ground, and pretended not to notice Mary. But she knew that he had followed her. This excited her. "You are the prettiest bird in the world," she exclaimed. "And you remember me." Mary talked and chipped back to him. The robin puffed off his chest, flicked his tail, and twittered. She put her face close to his and tried to make robin sounds. But she knew not to touch him for fear of frightening him away. The robin hopped over to the flower bed and began to peck for a worm. Then Mary noticed something in the dirt. It looked like a rusty ring of iron or brass. She waited until the robin flew back to a treetop. Then she reached down. But it wasn't a ring. It was an old key, and it has been buried for a long time. Chapter 8. Something in the ivy. Mary put the key in her pocket. She decided to keep it with her whenever she went outside, in case she found the hidden door to the garden. She wouldn't ask for permission to go in either. She imagined making a special place just for herself. As she thought, she stared at the ivy walls. "It's very silly," she said tiredly. "I'm so near the garden, but there's no way in." The next morning, Martha returned from her day off with Lars to tell Mary. "I told my family about you," Martha said cheerfully. "They wanted to hear all about the little girl from India who had been waited on her whole life." Mary said, "I'll tell you more before your next day off. Your brothers and sisters might like to hear about riding on elephants and camels and hunting tigers." "My word!" Martha exclaimed with delight. "That would be as good as the wild animal shows." She then put her hand into her apron pocket. "I have brought you a present," Martha said. She took out a strange object, a rope with a stippled handle at each end. Mary was mystified. She had never seen one and asked what it was for. "It's a skipping rope," Martha explained. "Mother bought it from a peddler. Just watch." Martha went to the middle of the room and began to skip. She counted to 100. When she stopped, her cheeks glowed and her eyes sparkled. Her breath came in little pants. "I could already skip to 500 when I was 12, Martha said breathlessly. She handed the rope to Mary. "Now you try," she said. "It does take practice, but Mother says there's no better toy. She says that a skipping rope will stretch your limbs and make you stronger." Mary wasn't very good at skipping. Still, she liked trying and didn't want to stop. "Go skip outside," Martha said. "Mother says you should be outdoors as much as you can." Mary got into her coat and slung her new toy over her arm. She was about to leave when she turned back to Martha. "It was your oasis that bought this rope, wasn't it?" "Thank you, Martha." She said it so stiffly because she wasn't used to thanking people. Then she held out her hand. Martha shook it. The handshake was a little formal, but Martha understood that Mary wasn't used to showing her feelings. Outside, Mary began to skip rope while counting. She skipped around the fountain, then into the kitchen garden. Ben Weatherstaff was there with the Robin. "Well," he declared, "perhaps you are a youngster, not an old lady with your sour buttermilk in her veins." "I can only skip to 20, Mary said, "but I'm getting better." "You keep on going," Ben said. "That Robin will want to see you, I'm sure." So Mary skipped into the orchard. She wasn't used to so much exercise, but the more she skipped, the easier it became. At last she reached the path beside the ivy wall. The robin was perched on a long branch in the thickest part of the ivy, chirping overhead. Mary laughed at him. "You showed me the key yesterday," she called out, "but I don't believe you can find the door." Then something happened that could only have been magic. A gust of wind blew down the path. It was pleasant and strong. It blew some of the ivy branches away from the wall. They stirred like window curtains in a breeze. Mary grabbed the loose ivy. She had seen something in the wall, a round doorknob hidden by the vines. Her heart thumped in her chest. She held the ivy away from the door. Touching the door with her fingers, she felt a small hole, a keyhole. Trembling, she took the rusty old key from her pocket where she had been hiding it. She put it in the keyhole. She had to use both hands to turn it, but somehow it did turn. She glanced up and down the path. No one was coming, so she took a deep breath and pushed. Very slowly and creakily, the door opened. She slipped inside and shut the door behind her. She was now inside the secret garden. Chapter 9. Such a strange place. The garden was the most mysterious place anyone could imagine. Its walls were covered with bare branches. Wintry brown grass covered the ground. There were clumps of bare bushes and little trees. Mary knew that they were rose plants like she had seen in India. There were other kinds of trees. The climbing rose canes hung down like curtains, and the vines had grown together, making little breezes between the trees. The tangle of branches and vines made the garden seem so mysterious. It was very quiet. Even the robin in the treetop didn't move. In a whisper, she said, "I'm the first person to speak in this place in 10 years." She walked over the brown grass, stopping under one of the vine breezes. She wondered if they were all quite dead. She hoped not. Even so, she was inside the garden, a world of her own at last. The sun was shining and the sky looked even bluer here. The robin flitted from one tree to the next. He chirped busily, telling her about the garden. She forgot to feel lonely. She kept thinking how beautiful it would be if the garden came alive. She began to skip around the garden, taking it all in. There were little paths in the grass, and stone benches and moss-covered urns. Then she noticed a flower bed full of dried grass with little green sores sticking out of the ground. She remembered what Ben had told her. "There are things growing here," she exclaimed. "It isn't quite dead." She looked about carefully. She found many more pale green sores among the old beds. Although she had never been a gardener, she thought she could help tend the little plants. She found a sharp stick. With great care, she dug away the grass around a few plants. She dug up some little white things that looked like onions and then replanted them. When she had cleared a space, she said, "Now the plants can breathe." She decided to do more each day until she had done them all. Mary almost forgot about lunch and had to run back to the house. Martha was very surprised to see Mary's rosy cheeks and bright eyes. She was even more surprised when Mary asked for double helpings of meat and rice pudding. While eating, Mary asked, "What are those white things in the ground that look like onions?" "They are bulbs," Martha said. "The little ones are snowdrops and crocuses. The bigger ones are daffodils, and the biggest are lilies and irises. Those flowers live a long time. They spread out and have little ones. Dickon planted bulbs all around our cottage." "Does Dickon know about flowers?" Mary asked. "Our Dickon can make flowers grow on a stone wall," Martha said with pride. "Mother says he just whispers things out of the ground." Mary finished her pudding and went to sit by the fireplace. "I wish I had a little spade," she said. "Whatever for?" Martha asked. Mary didn't want to give away her secret. If Mr. Craven found out, she feared he might lock up the garden forever. After a minute, she said, "I don't have much to do here. I only have you and Ben Weatherstaff to talk to, and you are both so busy. If I had a spade and some seeds, I could make a little garden." Martha's face lit up. "Why, that's what Mother said. You could grow parsley and radishes." "Your mother knows so many things, doesn't she?" Mary said. "She says that a mother who raises 12 children learns more than the ABCs." Martha chuckled. "Now, I have seen little garden sets at the shop in Twitter. There's a spade, a rake, and a fork that cost but 2 shillings. "I have that," Mary almost shouted. "Mrs. Medlock gives me a shilling every week." Martha said, "If we write Dickon a letter, he can buy the tools, and some flower seeds too. Can you print?" Mary nodded eagerly. "I have some chores to do for Mrs. Medlock," Martha said, "but I'll come back as soon as I can with some paper and a pen and ink." So Mary didn't get to go back to the garden that day. When Martha returned much later, together they printed a nice letter to Dickon and Martha signed it. "Put your money in the envelope. Dickon will buy your tools and he can bring them to you. Then I shall meet the boy who tamed foxes and crows," Mary exclaimed. Martha stayed with Mary until supper time. When Martha got up to fetch Mary's supper, Mary asked shyly, "Does the kitchen maid have another toothache today?" Martha looked uncertain. "Why do you ask?" "Because I heard crying again down the corridor. There's 3 times now, and there wasn't any wind today." Martha looked uneasy. She said, "You must not go walking about the house. Mr. Craven would be very angry." Then she hurried away before Mary could say another word. Mary thought, "This is the strangest house ever." Chapter 10. Dickon. Mary called her special place the secret garden. In it she felt like part of a fairy story. She had read about people who went to sleep in secret gardens for 100 years, but instead Mary was becoming wider awake. She could run faster and longer now and skip to 100. Every day she worked in the garden to give the bulbs breathing room. Mary was oddly stubborn when something interested her, and the garden interested her more than anything she had ever known. She learned more about gardening from Ben, and he usually welcomed her company. In fact, he was flattered that she wanted to talk to an old man. Also, Mary no longer spoke to him as if he were a mere servant. One day he paid her a gruff compliment. "You are starting to be a credit to Misselthwaite," he said. "You are not so thin and pale. You looked like a plucked crow when you first came here." Mary liked old Ben and even his homespun honesty. One day he told her why he especially liked roses. "I was a gardener to a young lady who had a rose garden, and she loved her roses like they were children." "That was 10 years ago," he sighed. "But the lady's in heaven now, and the roses are overgrown. I tried tending them, pruning them a bit and digging around the roots, but my stiff old body makes it too hard." Thinking of the secret garden, Mary asked, "When roses have no leaves and they look grayish-brown and dry, how can you tell if they are still alive?" "In the spring, look for little bumps on the twigs and branches. Watch them after a warm rain and see what happens." He stopped digging suddenly and stared at Mary. "Why do you ask?" he said crossly. "Girls shouldn't ask so many questions. Go off and play. I have got work to do." She wasn't mad at being sent away. She liked Ben even when he was cross with her. Mary walked away from Ben and found the path that curved around the secret garden. It was lined with laurel hazes and ended at a gate opening into the woods. She hoped to see rabbits there, but instead she heard a whistling sound coming from the other side. Curious, she followed it into the woods. What she saw took her breath away. A boy sitting under a tree with rust-colored hair, cheeks as red as poppies, and the roundest, bluest eyes Mary had ever seen. He was playing a pipe, and a squirrel was clinging to the tree just over his shoulder. A peasant, behind a small bus stretched its neck to peek out at him. Nearby sat two rabbits, twitching their noses as if they had come to a concert. When the boy saw Mary, he raised his hand. In a low voice, he said, "Don't move, it would frighten them." He stopped playing and stood up very slowly, almost like he wasn't moving at all. When he finally got to his feet, the animals scampered away. They didn't seem afraid. "I am Dickon," the boy said, "and you are Miss Mary." He talked in a friendly way, but Mary felt shy around boys. "Did you get our letter?" she asked, rather stiffly. Dickon nodded his head. "Yes, I have bought the garden tools." He showed her a package wrapped in brown paper. "There's a spade, a rake, a fork, and a hoe. A trowel too, and some extra seeds." The woman at the store threw in a packet of white poppy and blue larkspur for free. "Can you tell me about the seeds?" Mary asked, opening the package. The way he talked sounded as if he liked her. She forgot about being shy. They sat on a log and Dickon explained all about the seeds and how to plant them. They heard chirping coming from a holly bush. "There's a robin calling us," Dickon said. "He's calling someone he's friends with." "He's Ben Weatherstaff's robin," Mary said. "I think he knows me a little." Dickon whispered, "He's telling me he likes you." Dickon moved quietly to the bush. He made a sound like the robin's own twitter. The robin answered. Mary was amazed. "Do you really understand everything birds say?" she asked. Dickon grinned. "I think so," he said. "I have lived on the moor so long that I feel I'm one of them. Sometimes I think I'm a bird or a fox or a badger." He laughed and came back to the log. Then he asked, "Where is your garden? I can help you plant." Mary turned red and then pale. She twisted her hands in her lap and looked at the ground. Dickon was puzzled. He asked, "You do have one, don't you?" Mary said nothing for several minutes. Then she looked up and said, "Can you keep a secret? It's a great one. If anyone found out, I think I might die." Dickon was more puzzled than ever, but he said in a good-natured way, "I keep secrets all the time. I keep the animals secret so no one bothers them on the moor." Mary grabbed his sleeve and spoke very fast. "I've stolen a garden. Nobody wants it, and maybe it's all dead, but I don't care. Nobody can take it from me." Then she threw her arms over her face and burst into tears. Dickon drew out a soft "Oh." Mary wiped at her tears. She said, "I found it myself and got in myself, like the robin. They wouldn't take the garden away from a robin." "Where is it?" Dickon asked. Mary jumped up. "I will show you," she said. Dickon followed her through the gate, up the laurel path, and to the ivy-covered walkway. He didn't speak, but looked kindly at her. Mary found the door and led him inside. "It's a secret garden," she said. "They are letting it die, but I wanted to live." Dickon took his first look around. In a curious whisper, he said, "It's a strange, pretty place. It's like we are in a dream." Thank you for spending your time here with this story. I hope it helped you relax and learn English at the same time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and continue your English learning journey with more classic audiobooks. See you in the next video.